And after 20,000 miles and the abuse that I've put this bike through, that is quite amazing. As you can tell from the title, I'm going to be discussing my gripes after 20,000 miles on the Yamaha Bolt and what I've loved about it as well. Number one, there's too much plastic on the bike. From covers to speedometer, there's just a lot of plastic on the bike. It gives a very cheap feeling to the bike, and I think it will start to deteriorate and become brittle and probably crack. So I think that while it may be fine and bring down cost of production, which makes the motorcycle to me cheaper, it gives it a cheap feel as well. Number two, the speedometer. Multiple things wrong with the speedometer. First of all, it is a circular speedometer with a square LCD screen. It's very terrible. The speedometer also has glare. I don't know if it's because of the plastic or the brightness that the LCD gives off. When sun hits the speedometer at really any angle, you can't even see what speed you're going. So that's been kind of an annoying thing. Number three.
Please, number three, my lord. Oh, okay. Number three.
The paint is cheap. Now on the tins, so the front fender, the rear fender, and the gas tank, the paint has kept its gloss. It looks fantastic. It's very deep paint on the tank. It looks gorgeous. But on the frame and every other piece, the paint has started to either fade or chip away. And it just seems like the powder coating process that they did on the tins, they should have also done on the little pieces. And they probably saved a lot of money by not doing that, but it just seems cheap. Number four, the frame design is very limiting when it comes to aftermarket parts. As far as crash bars or any sort of protection for the bike, there's nowhere to mount to it. I think that if they would have added a couple crossbars in the front, I don't want it to be designed like a Harley, but I think that they should have taken notes from that frame. This frame is just oddly designed and doesn't seem as strong as what it could be. Number five, the speed wobble. I am positive that if you've watched any video about any Yamaha Bolt, you have heard about the speed wobble. They're terrible. You need to replace them with all ball pin bearings for the speed wobble to go away. A little bit of testing on the bike and a little bit of ride time on the bike from Yamaha would have alleviated this issue, and they could have seen that, hey, we have a speed wobble, we probably need to either change the ergonomics of the bike. It's like a $32 fix plus whatever shop time would cost, or if you want to do it yourself. And it's definitely worth changing those out because it'll take away the speed wobble. Aftermarket. I was only going to do 5 gripes, but honestly the aftermarket was too frustrating for me not to add it in the video. My issue with the aftermarket options for the Yamaha Bolts, if you want crash bars, if you want a seat, if you want air intake, if you want shocks, anything for the bike, it's just either difficult to find or they don't have it. And the options that are out there oftentimes aren't to the standard that I think they should have, and they also aren't worth the money to me. If you see Harleys out there, there's $35 options for air intakes, and so I think the aftermarket is very lacking. The bike is newer, but at the same time, it doesn't make any sense to not have any aftermarket parts. Now that all the gripes are out of the way, which not that many for 20,000 miles, that's pretty good. Let's get on to the stuff that I loved about this bike. The likes, not the gripes. Number one, this bike, without a doubt, is the most reliable mode of transportation I have ever dealt with in my life. This bike has never once left me stranded on the road, has never broken down, and I have never had any issue with the bike that I did not cause, ever. It is the most reliable bike I have ever owned. I still have the original clutch in the bike. I have the original belt to the bike. Reliability, 100% amazing. I have loved this bike because of the reliability. I know that if I go to start the bike, it will start. And after 20,000 miles and the abuse that I've put this bike through, that is quite amazing. Number two, tank size. Pretty straightforward. The tank is large. It's got a larger tank than a Sportster. I have a friend who has a Sportster and he'll fill up twice in a ride and I'll still be running on one tank.
Number three, my lord.
Simplicity. The reason I love this bike so much is because it's so simple. To work on, to make stuff for, general maintenance is very easy. The bike is very simple in its design. Everything is exposed. There's no fairings on it, and so it makes it very easy and less daunting to work on. Number four. Torque. Now this bike is not exceptionally powerful, but what it does have is low end torque. It is very torquey and very fun to ride around. Highway speeds, it does get a little bit shaky if you're getting up to the 90 mile an hour range. It does get a little bit less confident in its movements. But what I will say is that if you're keeping it general city riding and a little bit of highway, it has been a wonderful bike because of the torque. Lastly, number 5, Affordability. This bike is exceptionally affordable. You don't need to have $20,000 to dump into a bike, to customize it, to do whatever you need to do. If you can get $4,000, then you can get this bike. It is super cheap to work on. To work on it yourself and to do all the customizations that you want to do, it's very affordable. The initial cost is very low, and so it makes upgrading the bike a little bit less daunting because of the fact that you have spent so little on the initial cost. So comparable bikes in the class and what this bike is meant to compete with would be a Sportster. And a Sportster of the same year is easily $7,000. 2014, right now with about 6,000 miles, you could get it for around $4,500. There you have it. We've got my gripes, we've got my likes. 20,000 miles. This is what I think of the Yamaha Bolt. I hope this information helps you out in either purchasing the bike or helping you to understand your bike a little bit more. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe. We put out content all the time. This channel is pretty encompassing, so anything you need. If you want to learn how to tie a tie, go somewhere else. I don't know how to tie a tie. But we're putting out content all the time. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm out.